Hey, folks, wave.
That's the old-timey way of waving.
Yeah, that's not the cool way to wave anymore. All right, we'll hang out here for a minute, give folks a few minutes to
Hi.
come in. In the meantime, this is our reading for the day.
Storybook time.
Mm.
In case anyone needs a bedtime story.
Oh yeah, I noticed this is actually from...
I'll press the wave button.
Oh, wave.
I'm waving. Hello.
This is from when we were in high school.
Hi.
So, yeah, sure. Well, we'll tell. So this is Melody. This is my wife,
Hi.
Melody. And I'm Michael. So for those of you who are joining us now or watching on Instagram or YouTube, we were intending to do the show on YouTube. I've never. Yeah, so we were planning on doing it on YouTube, and then it turns out that there's like a 24-hour wait for your first YouTube live. So here we are. So I appreciate y'all coming to check us out on Instagram instead. How are you guys doing?
Awkward silence.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I hope that this is like Dora the Explorer. You're supposed to.
It's like Nickelodeon kids shows.
Yeah.
Should we go right or left?
Right? Okay. Anywho, so we're glad that you guys came. Hey, we got some hearts.
Yay,
I don't know what that means, but I guess that's good. Anyway, so if you're checking us out on YouTube, apologies for who all. Hey, we're pumped for Truffles too.
Hey, Truffles. There it is.
So, yeah. So we're actually she's gonna eventually stab herself.
I'm the Vanna White here.
Yes. To Vanna White to my who's taking over now?
Ryan Seacrest. So
Ryan Seacrest.
I can see the resemblance. It's there.
To Pat Sajak or to me?
You decide. You should put up a poll.
Yeah, put up a poll. Who looks more like Pat Sajak, Ryan Seacrest, or Michael Reed? Yeah. Well, anyway. So, so we're excited. Apologies for how long it took to get the price to you guys, but for those of you who are just tuning in and haven't heard yet, so the Kickstarter is going to be $189. We are going to do a first day early bird special for $179. The algorithm is kind of funky on Kickstarter. Really, they want to see you succeed in 24 hours or just die. Those are your two options, and so they're trying to do as many things as you can in the first 24 hours to push up sales to the point where they really recommend that I say they, not Kickstarter, but anybody who actually uses Kickstarter recommends that you set your goal to like, I don't know, a sixth or a tenth of what you actually need. That way you can reach your goal in 24 hours, and then the algorithm kicks in and starts like boosting you. But that's dangerous because that means if you don't then make the additional, 90%, then people are going to be left holding the bag, or you are. Kind of messy.
I'm waving.
Hey, Cameron, thanks for coming in, man. So we can do just questions, but I guess we'll kind of do some overviews for those of you who haven't seen. So, Truffles, a couple things that we are in the process of changing. We are adding a clip filler, which will be basically just the same shape as this. You guys may hate us for this next change, but we are dropping the wire clip holes. But the reason I initially designed it for wire clip is just wire clip is it's just always good to go.
It's the real name, believe it or not.
Drizzle Knife says, is Truffle the working name, or that's a great question. On on the clip, the reason why I wanted to do the wire clip is just because, I had never produced a knife with this OEM, and they're really well known in the industry, but they don't have a forward-facing consumer-facing business, and so I was not familiar with their products, and so I wasn't sure how good the clip was going to be, but the clip's really good, and so I wanted to drop the wire clips because you got these extra holes in here that sort of just drive me nuts. But the downside is you won't have the option to do the wire clip. As far as the name, yeah. So here's what happened. I was showing the design to Melody.
That's me.
That's Melody.
Who don't know.
This is Michael, and that's M&M's. So the longest possible version of this story is I met the company that's doing will you be able to buy the knife from Europe? That's a great question. We've not landed on a decision for that for Kickstarter. But if we can't...
I volunteer to personally fly it to you.
It's very kind of you.
Generous heart.
So the question I was answering was about the name, which led me to talk about the design. Okay, so check the pivot. So the pivot is the unique mechanism here. So inside the pivot, there is this little leg that goes from the button to the liner. And as you press the button, the leg, like there's a leg right there, the leg is kicking. And then when you push the button, you're pivoting the leg back, which actually pulls the liner back. So that's why you do a push and it does a pull. But the mechanism was a set size. And so I asked them, would y'all be interested in resizing it? And they said, maybe in the future, but not right now. But use this one or don't. And so the knife wound up being much larger than the knives that I normally carry because I had to design it around the pivot, around the roundhouse lock design. And so it's larger than I would normally design, which actually is funny because Melody's preference is larger knives. So she actually, this is her jam. And I always think like size-wise, she's got smaller hands. She would prefer to have a smaller knife, but no.
It's better for me. I don't want teeny tiny knife. I just don't. What is this?
We're getting Frankie and Bird vibes here.
Am I wielding it too aggressively?
No, not at all. My head's not going out of frame for any particular reason. So overall length is 8.1. So the blade is 3.4, and what's 3.4 minus 8.1? 4.7, I think, something like that. But 8.1. So it's a big knife. It's a little intimidating looking. I showed it to Melody and I said, what do you want to name it? She said, well, we designed the Megoptera, which had a humpback, so we named it the Megoptera after the genus.
That doesn't matter. Move on.
Of the humpback whale. And Megoptera, if you're wondering, that one's being paused right now to focus on Truffles. So I said, what do you want to name it? She said, how about Rhino? And I said, well, there's like a million knives named Rhino. And she said, what about Truffles? And it made me laugh out loud. And so that's why we picked it. The reason she went there was because her favorite Christmas movie,
A Wish for Wings That Work,
has a character in it who is a pig who believes he is a rhino. He wears like a rhino cone, and he goes to self-help.
Yeah, it's like a self-help group, and
for penguins who wish for wings that work,
it's
and
for
also
animals that think there's some other kind of animals.
Yeah, and so
he thinks he's a rhinoceros,
yeah,
but he's a pig.
Truffles,
and his name is Truffles. So
that's how we got.
That's why I thought of Truffles whenever I thought about a rhinoceros.
So it's not related to the cat. Some people have asked me because apparently there's a Truffles the cat, and it's not that.
It is not a cat.
Yeah,
it's a pig.
Yeah,
that thinks it's a rhinoceros.
Anywho,
these things make sense.
Yeah. So this is the kind of quality content you can expect from Aurora Knife and Tool.
This knife is like a foot away from your face, and every single little twitch that I do, he's like,
yeah. What will be the stock availability? So this is maybe TMI, but the minimum order that I can make is 600. And so I hope that I can sell that many, or at least have that many spoken for. I'm trying to work with some dealers, to going back to the question about the European, will they be available in Europe? I'm hoping that we can find some like Australian, European dealers who would want to purchase, maybe even Canadian, just because it can be a little tough to get there. So if we can't do Kickstarter or do it international, then I would like to see us do to work with some overseas dealers, just at least so there's some available. So this will definitely be our first run. It is just this configuration, so it's just the blasted tie with the titanium pivot collar, back spacer, clip filler, clip, etc. And so that's going to be the first variation. Don't have too many big knives in my collection so far. I would definitely carry this since it's not too wide. Yeah, I was trying to go with, like I said, I was basing it on the size of the pivot, and I tend to like balance in my designs. And so, I didn't want a thin blade and a thin handle, but I did want it to be ergonomic and feel not enormous. And somewhat, I think that the name, which of course it's not going to be like labeled on there anywhere, but the name does kind of help cut down some of the murdery, to borrow Nick Shabazism, cuts down some of the murdery vibes, because it's not what we're going for. It is just EDC. You might look at it and go, that doesn't look like EDC, but it is designed for EDC. Light use. In my mind, it's kind of a showpiece. It's something that you go like, hey, look at this unique opening mechanism. There's not too many on the market like that. It has been compared to the deadbolt lock from CRKT, but it's not that. It's definitely the deadbolt is definitely a built for hard use lock, and this is essentially a liner leaf. So there's the and it's funny, we're July 2nd now, so I can talk about the internals, because we were asked by the company not to talk about the internals until July 1st because they were working on a U.S. patent. So backstory, what's the backstory on the mechanism? You said Truffles was designed around the pivot mechanism. Where did that come from? Okay, so story was, I was representing QSP at Blade Show last January, this January 2023. SHOT Show. This is self-editor, thank you. Yes, SHOT Show, and I ran into this company I'd never heard of before. They came by the booth, we were chatting, and they said, hey, we're an OEM as well, and I said, yeah, I'd love to see your stuff. And I went to their table, and they just had some like crazy innovative stuff, and I was like, this is my jam. Innovation is like my lifeblood. It's my goal to never bring something to the table that's been done that way before. That's just kind of what I like to do. And so the fact that they were not only innovating, but they were innovating without like a market in mind, if that makes sense. So like, of course they want to sell it, but the design that they had done was basically a proof of concept. Here's how this lock would work. Now we're looking for people to do it. The blade steel on this one is S35VN. Yep, that's right. So I just started talking with them about it, and that's where and it's interesting because I ran into Beyond EDC at SHOT Show as well, and they have a similar lock that is it Pinkerton came out with. It's a inside the pivot button lock. They're doing it a different way. But so it's kind of interesting that I ran into two similar locks, but this one was a company that had it ready to go and wanted to see some folks use it. So it's not unique to us, although they did, always need the other half to keep your scattered brain straightened out. Mine corrects me too. Yes, she's very good at that. anyway, I don't remember. I keep reading the comments and then interrupting myself.
Yeah, stop doing that.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway, I just really thought it was cool that the company was looking for ways to innovate and bring something new. They've got some other things that they showed me that I'm going to probably be incorporating, and I've got some of my own ideas that are some unique things that I'd like to see, but trying to get out there. But anyway, again on this one, it's essentially a liner lock. There is it's a little tough to see, but so here's the liner right here, and in a normal liner, the liner is bent already, so that whenever you deploy the blade, the fact that the liner is bent and it's leaning in a direction, you pop the blade open, then the liner goes the direction it wants to, which is underneath the blade. Well, this liner is not bent, and so what makes it go this direction whenever you deploy the blade is there's a little leg, and I've worked really hard to try to make this like visible in photos, but like I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so here, this right here that I'm covering with my finger on the interior, that is the liner, but right there, right above my finger right here is the little leg I'm talking about, and that leg is actually attached to the liner, and it's connected to the button. And so whenever the blade is finally deployed, it pops open. I'm going to hold the blade so I don't, hurt myself. But when you're pressing it, see if I can make it to where the light shines on the leg. Not really. But you can see it's pulling it in when you press on it. So does it require oiling or greasing if it's used as a daily knife? I don't think so, not any more than any other would. One of the things that's really nice about it is because it is a liner lock, it's got a really solid lockup. And then it has, the ease of a button lock. I inadvertently said on the first video that some of y'all may have seen, maybe in the reason why you got here, Max Level EDC video, I said that it has the strength of a liner lock. What I was trying to say was it has the lockup of a liner lock. Just a really solid lockup. I was afraid someone was going to ask me about blade thickness. That is the one measurement that I have meant to get and haven't. About that big. Where's my ruler? I've got here we go. This is a cubit.
This is not helpful.
So it's
absolutely unhelpful.
I would say it's about 2/100ths of a cubit, something like that.
This is not helpful.
I don't know. I need to get that up on the website, honestly. I keep meaning to, and I keep having calipers in my hands and not doing it. Last time I tried to do use my calipers when I had them to do the behind the edge thickness, which is a number I have never cared about or tracked, but I know people, it's the thing is, you just get nerdy about one or two aspects, well, probably more than one or two, but like a handful of aspects about knives. You get really, really nerdy about that. And then everything else you're like, I don't really care, but these are the things I'm like super nerdy about. So what I'm super nerdy about is action, the fidget factor, the style, the innovation. These are probably the three things that sort of speak to me in knives. And so this one kind of captures that. Also, I'm a budget buyer, or a not buyer. I'm that weird knife guy whose wife has to talk him into buying knives. Why is that, Melody?
So okay. He is the kind that he really likes something and he looks at it forever and thinks about it, and then when he finally decides to buy it, it's no longer available, kind of a thing, which is so frustrating to me. I mean, we're opposites, because I'm like, I see something I like and I'm like, yes, please give me. I bought a knife at Blade Show.
Yeah, did I buy anything this year at Blade Show?
I don't think you did.
I don't think you did. David!
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I don't think I got a knife at the QSP booth for work in the booth,
I'm an impulse
but that's
buyer.
the only knife I walked away from Blade Show with.
I'm an impulse buyer, and you're the absolute opposite of impulse buyer. Like,
yeah, I'm a very impulsive person, but not a buyer. I don't know.
Does not.
The Kickstarter is launching August 2nd, which is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. The only obvious day to drop truffles.
These things make sense.
It's happened to me. So decision making is hard. Yeah. Look, I mean, honestly, if David, so Blade Banter, that just joined us, if David was on the stream, he would have plenty to tell you about my indecision. I've been working on launching Aurora Knife and Tool for 4 years, probably somewhere around there. When David and I first started talking about it, and David is really like, if y'all are not following Orion Knives, David is really like the first guy that started doing this kind of thing. Nowadays it's like the popular thing to like, be a knife influencer turned knife designer. But David was doing it before it was cool. David was doing button locks before they were cool. Like David was like the innovator of innovators. So definitely owe a lot to him in terms of just like learning about how to do this whole thing, making contacts, that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, I tend to be a budget buyer or a higher end knife browser, but if it's pricier, I usually won't jump on it. But if there's something unique enough that catches my eye and I'm concerned about, if I've got that FOMO working against me and fear of missing out, then I'll probably jump on it. Would you be able to engrave a date on one of these? I would like to get this from my fiance as a wedding. Oh,
I love that idea. I wonder if we could talk to somebody like a jeweler.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some way to do it. Oh, hey, thanks, Apple Prime. There's probably some way to do it. There will be some billboarding on the blade. I'm thinking right there, probably. The steel, if I could find places to put it on there without it being too much, I would rather have it in some really sneaky places as far as like the steel type. But I'll put steel type and probably just Aurora somewhere on the other side.
I think it's a very romantic gift, by the way.
Yeah, that's really great.
I like it.
Melody's for it. Who is the OEM? So the OEM was a company I had never heard of before. It's pronounced Sikio. Super cool people. And I think that was the yeah, go feed the kids. Go feed the kids. But definitely appreciate that, Drills and Knives. Appreciate that. So Sikio met them at SHOT Show. Had not heard of them before, and it's really because they don't have a consumer facing company, like QSP or Wee Knives, Civivi, Artisan. There's a handful, Kaiser. There's a handful of these companies that work as OEMs and also have primarily have a consumer facing company of their own, whereas Sikio doesn't do that. And so met them at SHOT Show, was really impressed with their quality, with their action, and then just the people themselves. Like, they were just really good people. They've
been great to work with.
Yeah. Within like 20 minutes of hanging out with them, I'm like, these are my new best friends, Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of fun. I spoke to you a year ago at Blades Were 2 about the prototype. Yeah. So, and like I said, for those who've been following the Megoptera, we are pushing pause on that one just to focus on Truffles, and there's still some things we want to tweak on the Megoptera design. So, but Truffles is ready to roll, so we're ready to roll with it. What does the bouncing sound come from on closing? Okay, so there is an internal stop pin that you probably can't see. Right in there. You can, from here, I can just make out the curve of it, but there is a steel post that the interior of the blade is hitting, and so that slapping sound is the sound of a dull metal surface hitting a dull metal surface. So it's not like, so one person said, oh, the blade is hitting the backspacer. No, that's not what it is. It's the internal stop pin. But it's, and the stop pin goes both directions. You got the stop here and the stop there. It protects the blade. It keeps the blade from slapping into the backspacer. But yeah, I don't know if you'll have other questions. But this is our first Kickstarter. This is definitely not our day job. I started out off in the knife community with Misheard Knife Reviews, which was a very esoteric niche knives. We'll get to with Jared and Kara about that. It was me making fun of knife reviewers, essentially, but not really. It's hard to make it short. Okay, YouTube has subtitles that are often incorrect. I watched so many knife reviews that I started taking screenshots of the humorous incorrect YouTube subtitles, and then I started doing artwork based on like digital art. I would change the image on the screen to match the humorous title, humorous incorrect subtitles. But along the way, I made a lot of knife nut friends, and so this whole thing kind of like just spiraled. But I've always been the kind that like when I get really interested in something, I have to kind of like have my I don't know, get my hands dirty on it. Like
some might call it an unhealthy obsession.
I try to keep it limited because I can because I can get very interested in things. And that was one of the reasons why I waited so long to actually launch Aurora Knife and Tool. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just like a passing fad that I was interested in, but I've been working on designs and merch. We've been producing merch for about 2 years. And then I've been doing design work for about 3 or 4 years. But price, Kickstarter is August 2nd. Price is $189. If you go on day one, August 2nd, there will be an early bird price of $179 just to try to convince Kickstarter that we're cool with the algorithm. I feel like somebody asked something, and will I be able to pledge on Kickstarter after the release date? So does this mean like after the release, the knife is released? So general timeline, I can't really say for sure. I'm waiting to hear back from the factory, but that will be on the Kickstarter page. Back when I was looking at doing one in June or July, I think they were looking at January-ish as far as the knives being delivered. I'm guessing March-ish, February, March-ish, with basically a September start date of since the Kickstarter will end September 2nd. But I'll have a better quote from them on what that should look like.
I feel like there was another one that
it's the sound of happiness. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But yeah, other questions. Like I said, like I've said before in other places, not here. My day job is I'm a minister. I work with our early learning center at our church, which basically I just try to keep the teachers happy. It's sort of the biggest thing our church does. It's a small church. We have like 60 on a Sunday, but we have a rather large early learning center. Serves a lot of community members, so I oversee that. And then, my primary training and education and experience has been working with teenagers, college students, higher ed, doing and then music. So I'm also the worship leader at our church. I oversee our discipleship program. So design is like a love, not a something that I've been I've gone to school for. I guess it's in my blood because my mom's an industrial engineer. She designs air conditioning units, those big ones that like sit on top of Walmart, like the world's largest AC units. She designs those. So I guess in some way I got it honest. But
he's a creative person who he thinks of something and then he just makes it magically. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating sometimes how he's able to just kind of, he envisions something and then he's just like, this, here it is. This is it. It's like it comes out of his mind.
I don't remember that. Has that ever happened?
And all the time.
So life looks awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who is going to be the OEM? So the OEM is Sikio. It's a company that I had never heard of before, but they don't have they do a lot of OEM work. They've been doing it for a long time, but they don't have a company that they sell like directly to consumers. And so that's why they're not really like well known in the knife consumer market. So every like designer that I've talked to, if I'll say Sikio, they're like, oh yeah, Sikio. But like that they primarily work with larger brands, because they primarily work with larger brands, which is why you haven't heard of them, because like, you know, the larger brand that's selling, 100,000 units a year, they're not going to say, no one asks them, nobody asks, Buck Knives or Cold Steel, nobody says, who's your OEM? Because it's just like, if it's a huge company, that's just their market isn't asking that. It's really only the like boutique knife folks that wind up, asking that. And so because I don't know if we're one of their first, maybe we're one of their first that's talked about it. They gave us the option to be, to have like a non-disclosure agreement where they wouldn't say that they were our OEM and we wouldn't say that they were either. But honestly, I like the people, and if I can get them more business from small makers, or smaller, newer companies, I think that's cool. I mean, the roundhouse lock is their design. I did not design it. I wish I did. But I wouldn't be able to brag on it as much if I had designed it. So the fact that somebody else designed it, I feel like I can brag about it.
But I think just in general, kind of our philosophy, as a small business is just to be kind of as open as possible about, what goes on. Yeah, we're just not really looking to hide anything about what we do. So
yeah. So, and there's this weird like line that you have to draw at some point, because you are trying to. You're not just representing yourself. You're representing the dealers that you work with. You're representing the OEM that you work with, and so we want to be as transparent as what's going on in our portion of it. But if someone were to ask a question that would be privileged information about somebody else, I mean, then obviously we have to kind of draw a line somewhere. But primarily, we want you guys to know, like, what's going on. Before August 2nd, we'll be informed about the international shipping. Yeah, we'll definitely, I would say in the next week or two, we'll probably come to that. We just haven't researched it enough. I know that when NAFS did their first knife, they didn't go international, and then they did go international with this most recent one. The fact that they didn't go international first makes me think maybe we should not. But on the other hand, like if it's doable and if it helps, get folks who want the knife, get it sooner than having to wait till the next batch, I did say, some of y'all probably are going to be coming, oh, can't wait to back this. Hey, I appreciate that. She probably does too. I said, we do.
I said a little heart
when
I saw that.
Hey, nice. Multitasking. Anyway, I was saying something about Kickstarter.
Yeah, so overseas, I will personally just put it in a briefcase and handcuff it to my wrist and just carry it to you, international spy style. It'll be great.
Brilliant.
It'll work out perfectly.
But yeah, we want to. What was I say about Kickstarter? So if you didn't see the price, it is $189 for the Kickstarter. $179 for day one, so the early bird special. And I put on the email, that you can buy S35 and titanium knives for cheaper than that. But for us, it's a scary low price. And the reason is because the idea is that really you do project A. Project A is successful and it's enough to fund project B, which can funds project C and D, then C and D fund E, F, and G and H, that kind of thing. But because we have the price as low as we can conceivably make it, that's really the best price we can do. We're probably going to wind up relying on Kickstarter for the next foreseeable future, because we're not going to be getting the capital from this one to just start the company. And so, like I said, put in the email, we've been talking to a lot of knife gurus, and they were saying like really the price needed to be somewhere in the 240s range to be able to set Aurora Knife and Tool up to do future projects. But we really had to make a decision of is it going to be priced where the average knife nut can pick it up and give us a chance without having to break the bank.
Yeah, I mean, we are consumers ourselves, and definitely not like just having stacks of cash that's sitting around the house or anything, but we wanted to bring it to people, and we wanted to do the best that we could for everybody. And yeah, so it was there was a lot of discussion around it, like a lot of discussion.
That is accurate. That was another really tough decision to make.
There were spreadsheets.
So many spreadsheets. I can't really think outside of a spreadsheet. But I don't know. Any other questions? We really appreciate you guys joining us for this, especially those who have started in early and hung tight as we've answered the same question a couple of times. But yeah, any other questions before we let you guys roll? So we're going to be sending Truffles. We have 2 units. One of them is making its rounds to reviewers already. Should be seeing a handful of reviews coming out. Unfortunately, we had to. Unfortunately, the company contacted us like 2 weeks ago and was like, the patent company. Hey man, what's going on? Who wants piles of money sitting around the house when you can have tool carts and hard cases full of knives? It's true. It's true. I'm glad that I did take my stacks of cash off my bookshelf earlier, so I'm glad I did that before she mentioned it. Gosh, I need a script because I keep interrupting myself.
You wouldn't stick to it.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I think just overall, like, if you're interested in, what our philosophy kind of is as a company, it's the tagline is new every day. And that's because this, we want to value innovation, new things. And, it's about fun too, because, before you were Aurora Knife and Tools, you were, Misheard Knife Reviews, which is kind of very reflective of your personality, creative and hilarious.
Now,
and so
earlier we were talking in a group, and I said she was making fun of me for.
I wasn't making fun of you.
She mentioned the fact that
it's just literally a fact.
There's a script, yeah. She mentioned the fact that I burn and she tans. And I said, am I a joke to you? And she said, not a funny one. And that was a sick burn. And it made me very thankful that I married her.
See, you burn.
Yeah, yeah, I did get burned. I got burned pretty bad.
Oh, look, we have fire. You can.
Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
That's really helpful.
Just helping out.
Will the finish always be raw? No. So, look, we got into a place where we really had to make some calls as far as what we have in hand versus what we want to do. Do I want to do like every color combination conceivable? Yes. But we got to start somewhere. And this is, I did not want to advertise, we'll throw some accents on there. DLC doesn't hide what you shouldn't be doing with your knife. Yeah. So we wanted to be able to do other stuff, but this is what we've got a great example of. And so we wanted to start with what we can actually show you. And then as we, hopefully this one is successful. People keep saying, are you going to do blank? Are you going to do blank? Are you going to do blank? And the answer normally is yes, if you buy this one. We've got to have folks that jump in on and, believe in Aurora Knife and Tool enough to buy this one because, that's where we're going to get the ideas to be able to do other stuff. Won't be serial numbered. That's another tough decision for us. So, just talking about company philosophy, there's a lot of FOMO that goes into especially smaller boutique type businesses. There's this idea that if I don't get this now, it's never going to be offered again. And so like patches, coins, limited edition, numbered, those sorts of things, they're really driven on scarcity. And I watched a video from, you'll probably hear me mention Nick Shabazz a lot as I just talk about knives, because he was like the first one that taught me how to be a knife nerd. I was already a nerd. I already liked knives, but I didn't know how to be a knife nerd. So he's one of the first ones that did that. But he had a video talking about essentially like, scarcity driven sales and, limited edition, that kind of thing. It's one thing if you have an idea that you recognize is going to appeal to a small group of people. And so you take that risk, you do that one weird thing that you think probably won't sell well, and you just do your best to sell out. And then you count your blessings that you were able to sell out. But if you've got a product in a configuration that you believe in, I think ideally you'd get to the point where you have it on shelf and someone can say, oh yeah, Truffles. I've wanted a Truffles for years. Here's I'm going to jump on it. It would be easier, I think, to sell like our patches and our gear, like you're never going to see this. You're never going to see this configuration again. Hey, John, just got a message from John saying that I'm killing him because he was going to go watch the live, and then it turned out to not be on YouTube. Sorry, John. Well, unfortunately, I did not realize you have to have a 24-hour notice to YouTube for your first live video. But anyway, the whole FOMO thing, it would probably be better as a business decision to sell things out. Okay, you're never going to see this in this color configuration again. You're never going to have this opportunity at this price ever again. So FOMO, just trying to get people, that's just fear of missing out if you don't know that. If you're afraid you're missing out on that acronym. It would work better for a small company, but just as a philosophy, it's something that we're not crazy about.
I like one of my micro obsessions is makeup, and like I hate whenever a company is like, ooh, this limited edition eyeshadow palette, we only have so many, and when they're gone, and it's like you don't have time to like think about it and make a good decision. That's so you just have to jump with it. You have 5 minutes to make a decision about whether you want it or not, and I don't know, I hate that. Yeah. I want to be able to think it through and make a good decision, and see a review or two and make sure that it's something that's I work hard for my money, and I want to make sure that it's worth what I pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if Aurora Knife and Tool crashes and burns, it's because of that. It's because we weren't willing to roll into FOMO. But that said, will we do limited runs on things? I mean, probably. Sometimes it's just because it's you got to go with what's the safest option. But in general, we want products that speak for themselves, that someone likes enough to tell somebody else about it.
There are people joining, so I feel the need to show the knife, like we're on QVC or something.
Yeah.
Like.
We got another guy that says, that was lame, I don't have Instagram. Sorry, we are going to post it on YouTube. I mean, assuming that YouTube lets us, who knows? Maybe they won't be friends together. Will it come by itself or in a box, or will it have a zippered pouch? That's a good question. Because the question is basically, where do we invest in our extras? Do we do the pouched? I think it's going to be packaged in a way that you've not seen a knife packaged before. Will you like that? I don't know. So maybe we haven't decided. But unconventional is the name of the game.
Yeah.
So
stay tuned.
The weirder, the better. Will come wrapped in bacon. I don't know.
Bacon wrapped knife.
Hey.
First one.
Okay. I don't know. Y'all have any other questions? We've been going on about 45 minutes now. So appreciate those of you who have popped in, popped out. And hopefully we'll be able to do a... my vote is to not do the pouch, have 30. See, that was the other thing, too. There's so many of them out there. The pouches, I
have a zillion of those little makeup bags, and they don't really...
Yeah, the little cloth, the microfiber cloth. You've got a million of those as well. If we can find something that we think this is something that people don't have and they could use, we might throw that in there. But they do a style like Area 51 type, that shopping store, Area 51 type. Oh, like the yeah. No, David, we're thinking along the same lines here. David's scooping me. He's reading my mind. Yeah. So, but yeah, other questions, other ideas. Yeah, we're going to do some other configurations. Oh, let me just talk a little bit about some of the changes. Okay, so we have shifted the steel pivot collar to titanium. Can never have enough microfiber cloths. I will say that, maybe a microfiber cloth on a chain because I can never keep up with mine.
Could, like neck knives, neck micro.
It's a neckerchief, yeah. It's perfect.
Have it on a necklace. It could be an accessory. Earrings. Just thinking for the ladies. Who would love microfiber earrings?
Brilliant. So let's see. We are doing a clip filler. We are dropping the wire clip holes so that there won't be this gap up here. And then we are taking the clip and we're narrowing it down here so it'll kind of taper, trying to kind of follow these lines just so it feels a little bit more in line with the overall design. What else? Did we change anything else?
I think that's
not at the moment. So we're gonna have the knife around to a handful of reviewers. So I'm holding on to a few of those. There may be a few changes that are sort of like no-does that some reviewers will throw in, and if so, we'll work with the OEM to see if we can fit those in. But the name of the game is basically expected date and price range. John, thanks for stopping in. So the price is $189 for Kickstarter, $179 for the early bird. And
so first 24 hours.
And that's going to be August 2nd, National Ice Cream Day. That's
1 month from today.
Hey, 1 month from today. Let's just pretend like that's the reason we're doing the live today.
We planned it.
It's definitely not because I'm sending this one off to reviewers tomorrow, and this is the last time I'm going to have it in hand for a while. That's definitely not it.
Not it.
So the name of Truffles can do a mini pillow that has a pocket for the knife and have a chocolate truffle stitching on the corner of the pillow.
I like it. You're hired.
Okay, sending a notification. Hey, thanks, John. Zach says, is there any blade play? It can be fixed by tightening the pivot screw. You can tighten the pivot screw if you have any. In the two prototypes that I've had, there hasn't been any. This one I have taken apart. The other one I've not. When I put it back together, the blade was a little off center, but I did the little, thing where you disassemble it, loosen it up, and then reassemble it, and it's, the blade's centered now. But the lockup is really, really nice. There's no play in any direction, which is really cool. That's one of the benefits of it being a liner lock, which I keep calling it a liner lock, and I should probably come up with I bet David could come up with a better name for it. Good old Blade Banter, Orion Knives. But it's really a liner leaf. This little dude right here is steel, but he's nested inside this inside the handle.
But
you can
Hi,
kind of
thank you.
see. Oh yeah, thanks. So, and you might be able to see some in here, maybe from the back. Okay, but the liner is affixed two ways. There are little divots in the handle on the interior that the steel snaps in, that the lock bar not lock bar insert, the liner leaf snaps into, and when it snaps in there, it's in there. I mean, I have to wedge and pop it up from two different sides because of how tight the tolerances are. But then in addition to that, it's wedged into the backspacer, between the backspacer and the handle as well. And so the liner is really in there, but it gives you really nice lockup, because you're just getting basically, the lockup of a really good liner lock. And then with the release of, I keep wanting to do a little, I need like a little video of Chuck
Don't look at
Norris.
me.
I was like, it's like John Travolta is the only name that's coming to mind. I guess he could do a roundhouse lock.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's who you need. But do a little bit
JCVD.
do a little roundhouse, but that's what's happening right there. So right now I'm pivoting the leg back, which is why the blade is, or the liner is pulled back. But when I let go, that little leg that's going like this kicks the liner out. If this Kickstarter is successful, I know it will be. Hey, thanks for the vote of confidence. With the estimated delivery date. Now, that's a great question. I'm still waiting to hear back from the factory on that. I'm thinking probably March-ish, but I'm going to try to get a date from them just to be sure. And then, of course, we'll have to go through our own, just going through quality checking them, making sure it's all good.
Hopefully in time for the Easter Bunny to bring them.
That's what we need to do. We got to figure out what the when the Easter bunnies bring. Well, I guess, or that couple that was asking for one, the guy that was asking for one for his wife, for fiance for a wedding gift. Mm-hmm. We
need to find out their wedding date.
Yeah. DM me. Tell me when. We'll make sure that the OEM gets it to us by then. So I don't know. So the last thing I'll say, and this is probably one of the first things I should say, because you get a lot of folks that are upset that it's coming from China. And look, I get people buying based on their conscience. I think that makes a lot of sense. This is a luxury item in the sense, and I don't think it's luxury in the sense that it's, costs an arm and a leg, but it is luxury in the sense that you have other things that will open things, right? So this is something that you would buy because you're just a knife nut and this is unique, and you want to support a new company that's trying to get up and going. And so like you might, jump behind a project, for that reason. But a lot of folks, they want to see their extraneous purchases coming to support U.S. makers, U.S. made in America. And I want to be very clear that this is coming from Yanjing, China, which, interestingly enough, is the knife and scissor capital of China. They've been
scissors too.
Yeah, knives and scissors. They've been making knives and scissors in Yanjing, China for, gosh, I want to say it's like 800 years or something crazy like that.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, and so it's got an interesting history behind it, and it is where like Artisan and We and Civivi and all these companies are based in Yanjing, China. Which when I talked to Sikio and I said the OEM company and said Yanjing, they all laughed at me because I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly. So apologies to my Mandarin speaking friends. But why China? Well, number one, I think that there's a lot of good quality work coming out of China. Number two, the people themselves, I guess I'll say my number one thing is the people themselves. I got to know the CEO, I got to know the main point of contact at SHOT Show, and they were just good people. finding people that like you, that you like, that want to work with you, that you want to work with them. To me, I think it makes sense to go with folks like that. I did initially start off my search looking for a U.S. Manufacturer, primarily because the type of knife I was trying to design, I had seen best executed at the time in America. But at the end of the day, well, and then the American company I was looking for just didn't have the bandwidth to be able to do a product for somebody else. But at the end of the day, it's a good company. They do great work. They do innovation for innovation's sake, which is kind of my jam. Yeah, I mean, are there political reasons to be concerned about it? I mean, people have to use their dollars to vote with that, and that's okay. Like, I want everybody to know that if you don't want to buy this knife because it's from China, that's okay. We can still be friends. Like, you don't have to be mean about it. YouTube, I'm talking to you. Okay, YouTube, you don't have to be mean about it. We can just. It's okay if you don't want it for that reason. That's okay. We can still be friends. I have a lot of respect for people who use their dollars to vote with their conscience, and that's totally cool. But I've had a lot of great Chinese knives. They are definitely more in my range of price range as far as what I can afford. And U.S. made knives, you have to think about the number of hands that a product goes through. Right? In America, if you have one person making a knife and they're the only hand that touched it, they get to set the price, and probably it'll be a little more expensive because they're doing it, custom. But it's about the number of hands that go through it. And so, if you're looking at a knife from an American manufacturer, they normally do $200 knives. You're going to be buying that same knife. If I were to create it, you'd be buying that same knife for $400. And so that's not the kind of knives that we buy. Well, she does, but I try to make her not.
Do what I want.
She does. She make her own money. She do what she want. But I don't typically buy knives that are at that price range, and so I wanted to not, if I sell knives at that price range. We're all God's children, regardless of what country you're from. Country of origin should not matter. Like I said, there's pros and cons either way. That's the camp that I fall into. But I have a lot of friends who are diehard U.S. only, and they're good people. Their arguments make sense. I get it. But this is just where we've landed. Look, guys, we're at an hour, and I guess I'm gonna have to go build a fence now in the boiling heat. So that'll be fun.
Aw. Just joining.
Okay. Yes. So, sorry, Victor. Appreciate the follow. We're gonna have to head off. But shoot me an email, michael@auroraknifeandtool.com. You can shoot me a DM here on Misheard. Yeah. Sorry, Victor.
Sorry.
If you're not following me on Misheard Knife Reviews, Aurora Knife and Tool will be where most of our serious-ish. Yeah. Content. EDC Mom. She was in her last one, and so we're just about to head out. Sorry, EDC Mom. But follow me on Misheard Knife Reviews. You should be able to see the link in this bio. Follow us on YouTube. If we get Truffles in again, we have another unit that's out right now. If we get that Truffles back for a couple days, we may do another live actually on YouTube this time. Sorry, everybody who wasn't able to get in on the YouTube. But yeah, thank y'all for your support. We really appreciate it. Tell your friends and neighbors. August 2nd.
Look, hearts.
Hearts. These are the things I would not have done on my own. So that's why I'm glad that she's with me.
This is how I get myself disinvited from future lives.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Tell your friends and neighbors. August 2nd, $189 the regular price on Kickstarter. The early bird would be $179. Help us make it happen. Yay. It'd be really cool. All right, folks. Really appreciate y'all. Have a good one.